Hello and welcome to Bold Business Podcast. This is Ros Jones, and today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Jo Robinson-Howarth, founder of the Happiness Club. Hi, Jo.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. I'm so delighted that you could join us today because the Happiness Club, it sounds amazing. Tell us more.
So the Happiness Club is an online community that helps people look after their mental and emotional well-being on a daily basis. For me, that's a non-negotiable. It's all about being proactive in terms of looking after what's going on in your mind, same as we do with our physical bodies, but just with our minds.
Yeah, I love this. This is so much, so well aligned with the stuff that we're doing in the Self-Leaders Sanctuary, actually. So how did it start? And what was the inspiration behind forming this and how's it going?
So it started because I'm a therapist. I'm an advanced hypnotherapist and a mindfulness practitioner. So I was working with people one-to-one, and they kept saying to me that they were struggling in between their sessions, that they would like to put me in their pocket and take me home with them, so that I could whisper in their ears when they were in difficult situations at home. And obviously that's not a possibility. But I could remember, I became a therapist because therapy helped me. And I could remember feeling the same way when I had therapy, that, I had this amazing time with this amazing person once a week who helped me see sense and sort my brain out and go out into the world more confidently. And then I had to last an entire week all by myself before I got that help again. So that was where the idea came from. I wanted to give my one-to-one clients something extra without having to move in with them all. That's how it began. It began as a private Facebook group for my one-to-one clients, and then we grew from there.
What kind of reasons do people come to you for therapy these days?
My specialisms as a therapist are stress and anxiety.
Okay.
So that's what I work with mostly myself personally. And a lot of the Happiness Club members either experience those things or experience depression or have experienced those things and now have an understanding how valuable it is to, like I said before, proactively look after yourself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's the majority of the membership. We either have people who are struggling or who have struggled and know that it's a good idea to take care of themselves.
Yeah. Emotional hygiene. Like it.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yes, exactly that.
Yeah, you can have that. And so it's interesting. So is there a definition of happiness in your Happiness Club?
So the way that we define happiness is probably a little off-center from the norm. I don't describe it as a fleeting emotion, which I think most people would. The way we describe happiness define it is everything. It's everything. Happiness is coming to the point where you feel able to navigate whatever comes at you in life. We don't have necessarily much control over what happens in front of us, but we can help ourselves navigate through the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. So for me, happiness is all of it.
Yeah.
It's not just feeling great, and it's not about getting to the point where all you ever feel is great, because actually, while we think we would like to be there, we'd be bored out of our brains if we were there, right? There would be no challenge, no nothing to overcome, no nothing to do. And so for me, happiness is navigating it all.
Yeah, I love that. So I have, as a business coach, working with business leaders and people who often, they lament the fact that business is a roller coaster. And so it's like, I can only be happy when everything's smooth, but when it goes into a dip, the trough, that's the opposite. And it's as if I always want to be on the peak of the wave rather than in the trough. And if we actually appreciate that life is just a mixture of these peaks and troughs, why would we only want to be happy when we're at the peak? That's how I sort of feel about it. And also, as you say, if life was just one peak, then we'd have no reason to learn and grow as humans, would we? And we'd have no journey to go on.
Exactly that. I couldn't agree more. We don't necessarily enjoy the troughs. They're not, I was going to say they're not fun, but sometimes they are fun, right? Sometimes it is. That's where the excitement comes from. That's where motivation comes from, because we want to get out of the trough, right? So those things would be experienced way less if everything was just flatlining all the time.
The most common thing to do is when we're in a trough is to try and find the quickest way out of it. But I find sometimes if you are able to sit in that, sometimes that's when the gold comes, when you find the real gold. But, you know, it takes probably what you're helping people with. It's just like acceptance and patience and all those good things.
Yeah, exactly that. And it takes allowing it to happen. And, you know, we're conditioned as human beings, which you totally know. We're conditioned as human beings to want the good stuff and to get away from the bad stuff as soon as humanly possible, right? To negate it, to avoid it, to run away from it. Mindfulness is one of the things that I teach. And a lot of the Happiness Club content is mindfulness based. And what mindfulness teaches us to do is to turn towards those things, to turn towards them, allow ourselves to go through them, because the only way through something is through it.
Yes. What's the biggest response you get from people who are in your Happiness Club? Or is there an end to the Happiness Club? Are they in there for life, or is it a journey? They graduate, or what's the...
It varies, to be fair. We have members who have been in since almost day one, who've been members for years and years, because again, you know, when they joined, they were experiencing X, Y, Z, and now they don't necessarily experience that anymore, but they've come to understand how beautiful it is to continue that development for themselves, that growth and that learning. And then we have people that come and join for a few months because they're going through something difficult and they need an extra level of support for that time period. So it really, we do, on the whole, on average, people stay for a couple of years as a member, but we do have longer and shorter. When I first started it, I was very clear that there's no minimum tie-in period or no minimum term. It is you come, you get what you need out of it, and you move on when you want to. That's the point.
You are the founder of the Happiness Club, which makes you an entrepreneur as well as a therapist. So do you have any exciting plans, or is this it as it is? Or have you got a vision for how it's going to be, a direction?
Oh, I have a vision, definitely. So my work at the moment is growing the membership exponentially. I want to be able to help as many people as humanly possible. So we are currently talking to corporates about signing their people up. And we also have a franchise arm to the membership where people come and train with me to become Happiness Club trainers and deliver. We have a range of resilience workshops and we have our own schools program. So I want to grow the franchise. We have 11 franchisees at the moment. So that's my main mission, is to grow that franchise across the UK over the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Fabulous. Love it. And what about you personally? So, you know, this is all about learning to accept and love yourself and lead yourself. So what about you? Are you happy to share a lesson from your own life that maybe people will resonate with? It's some good that came out of this going into the trough and out again?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had varied and many troughs through my 54 years so far, Ros. The latest one of which was a diagnosis of breast cancer last year, which took up the last 6 months of the year for me. I was incredibly fortunate that we found it very early and it was super treatable. So I didn't experience anywhere near the depths that a lot of people experience when they have a cancer diagnosis, but it really served to remind me of the beautiful thing that life is and the way that we take it for granted or rail against it or say how rubbish it is when actually it's a gorgeous experience for us to experience.
Yeah.
It gave me a massive reminder of love and how important love is and how incredibly fortunate I am to have love in my life. I have 2 teenage daughters and a partner who I adore. And that's one of the things that we teach in the club. We talk to people about, you know, we have all these beautiful, brilliant things in our lives that because they're in our lives every day, we just start taking them for granted because they're in our lives every day. We get used to them being there and we forget to appreciate them. So it reminded me to appreciate what I have. It reminded me to live in the present moment as much as possible, which again, you know, when you're busy and you're doing business and family and life and all of that. I have dogs and cats and all manner of things that take up my time. So these things kind of fall by the wayside sometimes. So I did a series of social media posts at the time that I was experiencing it about the gifts of the cancer experience because, and I've described it since. I mean, I'm now cancer free, thankfully, so hurrah for that. But I've described it since it happened as actually one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because of the gifts that it brought my way, because I had, and I count myself again extremely lucky that I had that level of awareness that I could look at it that way.
Yeah.
That I could look at, I'm not saying I didn't cry and I didn't feel upset, and I did, I went through some painful experience, I had an operation and all of that stuff, and post-op treatment and all of that. So yes, and I actually faced my own mortality, even though the lump was tiny and it was really never going to kill me. But there's still that outside chance, so you still face your own mortality, which is scary to do. And I realized in doing that really the only thing I would miss were the 3 people who are most important in my life, and probably my dog and my cat as well. But, it really does make you look at what you have and appreciate it, and to appreciate each and every moment that you have. At the same time as it giving you, as we said before, giving you that discomfort and the opportunity to sit in that discomfort, which I took because I practice what I preach, right? So I took with both hands. And as I say, coming out the other side of it really has given me more than I ever thought it would be possible to.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story. So thanks for sharing that. And I think there is that deeper appreciation that you inevitably get when you've given a second chance.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we chase through life, don't we? And we suddenly think, oh God, where's all the time gone? Or we're sitting there and we're drumming our fingers bored because things aren't happening. But actually, it's, as you say, it's living in the moment, isn't it? And actually appreciating the moment rather than skipping to the future and just like not even being aware of what the present moment is and what it's about and what we've got, the gifts that we have in that space.
Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, I don't manage it all. I mean, I've been practicing mindfulness for, crikey, nearly 15 years now, and I still don't manage it all the time. I mean, my daughters are 18 and 16, and they still tell me off for not being fully present with them sometimes, So I'm a human being. We're all human beings. And we're all work in progress, right? So, but again, the cancer experience really gave me as well the ability to cut myself some slack and, give myself grace to be an imperfect human being, because we all are, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And I think especially like, I don't know whether it's in particular women, but, when we're in business, because, business is, we have this idea and it's like our babies and we want to look after it. We want to help it and we want to nurture it and grow it. And we're so passionate about it that we can become a bit fixated on it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes women, particularly so, and yet we've got all these other responsibilities and things to look after, and then our own well-being just goes straight out the window and sits in. It can be hard as a human being and as a woman and as a sort of high achiever, if you like, ambitious individual, to keep all of that, to remember to look after ourselves and as you say, to cut some slack when actually, do you know what? I've got to let one of these balls down right now. I can't juggle them all anymore.
Exactly that, right? And I absolutely would have told you before my diagnosis, I absolutely would have told you that I practiced what I preached and that I did look after my well-being. And actually that whole experience made me realize, yes, I do. Yes, I actively do, but not to the extent that I could. And for roughly 6 months or so, I mean, I'm incredibly fortunate that I have a business that largely ticks over if I don't do anything to it. And that's what I allowed it to do. The business was the ball that I dropped during that 6 months. And I'm really only in the last couple of months getting my mojo back in terms of the business, because everything else is 1,000 times more important. Right? So it just puts everything into perspective quite neatly for you.
Yeah, precisely. So, where do people find out more about the Happiness Club, Jo?
So the best place is our website, which is thehappinessclub.co.uk. There's all the information on there about the membership, about me, about the franchise, about everything. Our franchisees are on there. So everything and anything that you want to know about the work that we do is on there.
Fabulous. And actually, I've got a couple more questions for you. So, one just popped into my head. So I was recently at a meditation retreat, actually, run by a very well-known, in the circles I follow, well-known quantum physicist, I guess he's called. And he said that he reported this, it's like you have a choice, really. And he reported how he was on some podcast, and at the very end, they asked him, what's your number one tip for people who want to be happy? And he said, stop being unhappy. I absolutely love it because it's a choice, isn't it? So what's your number one tip for people who want to be happy?
Honestly, my number one tip for people who want to be happy is appreciation, is to appreciate it all. But I mean all of it, right? I don't mean it's really easy to appreciate the good stuff. That's simple. And we still don't practice that anywhere near enough. But to actually appreciate everything that happens, to actively, and not in a toxic positivity way, in a, what can I, if it's a difficult situation, what can I learn from this? What is this giving me? How is this helping me? How am I growing from this? That kind of appreciation, and then actively practicing appreciation of the stuff that's easy to appreciate.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's been wonderful to have you on our podcast show, Jo. And before you go, I have just one more question. I like to ask my guests this question. I'm standing before you. I'm just thinking about setting up my business. What's the number one piece of advice you'd give me?
Go with your heart.
Oof, love that. The heart is the doorway.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Jo.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for listening. This has been Bold Business Podcast Show. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.